Well, guys, it's time. So before I continue on, I just wanted to say thank you all so much for watching my first two top 10s of this year, and that were my top 10 shows of the year and my top 10 video games of the year. And that's because I know that the majority of you come by for my movie review content, but the fact that a lot of you did come by for my top 10 shows and my games of the year, it really means the world to me, and I thank you all so much for that. I know that the majority of you come for my movie review content, so it's time for the content that I know you guys have been looking forward to ever since the start of this year, and those are my top 10 worst films of the year and my top 10 favorite films of the year, starting with my top 10 worst films of the year. And that is because I like to give out the bad news first and then the good news last. So top 10 worst, here we are. Contrary to a lot of people might think, I actually think that 2022 was a pretty good year for films. In fact, I thought it was a great year for films, although, do not get me wrong, were there some piles of shit out there? Oh, yeah, there were. Before I continue on, guys, a couple of guidelines as per usual. First of which is this, guys. I have not seen every single film that came out this year, and if you guys want me to wait until I saw every single movie that came out this year, we'd be waiting at least 2 more years, and I don't think you guys are going to wait until 2024 to talk about my worst films of the year list. Second of which is this. This is my list. This is my subjective list of the films that I personally either disliked strongly or that I really hated with the fire of 1,000 suns. Before I continue on to my top 10 worst films of the year, I do have a few dishonorable mentions. Now, do not get me wrong to you guys, while these films didn't make it in my top 10, I still don't like them. And those films are Amsterdam, Black Adam, Crimes of the Future, Don't Worry Darling, and Men. Now, guys, it is time to rip and tear.
Number 10.
At my number 10, and this breaks my heart, guys, Jurassic World Dominion. Considering that this franchise started off as this epic game changer for blockbuster filmmaking and just a game changer for special effects, and where this franchise has come to now, how do you make a Jurassic Park, or let alone a Jurassic World film, and you don't focus on, I don't know, the dinosaurs? Jurassic World Dominion either focuses on 2 films. One film in which we see the original OG characters trying to dispel this bug locust thing, which really, again, why does the film focus on locusts and, I don't know, not the dinosaurs? Or focuses on the new characters, them trying to find and rescue their adopted daughter. Jurassic World Dominion does not feel like the end of the era that's supposed to be. It just feels like another installment setting up for another film. Jurassic Park started off this franchise with this big, mighty roar, and Dominion ends with such a whimper. Oh my, how the mighty have fallen.
Number 9.
Now it's time to talk about the dumbest movie I saw all year, and that is Moonfall. Oh, you heard oh my god out there, guys? That's how I describe this movie. Last year when I went to CinemaCon, I got to see the first 5 minutes of this film, and even though this film looked so stupid, it was the type of dumb fun that I was waiting to see. And I remember talking to a critic that was right next to me saying, is it me, or does this movie just look such dumb fun? And they said, yeah, they couldn't wait to see this movie. Not only did I get something stupid, but the levels of idiocy this movie reaches is just unfathomable. This movie got dumber and dumber and dumber as we went along, to the point where I literally just could not take it anymore, coming on to that moronic ending. Are you kidding me right now with that bullshit? As of recently, there have been plenty of big directors that have been shitting on superhero films. Roland Emmerich himself stated that superhero films are the same. Roland Emmerich, you don't have much room to talk because your films have been the same thing ever since Independence Day.
Number 8.
I'm a big Rob Zombie fan. Rob Zombie is one of my favorite metal musicians of all time. But when it comes to his filmmaking, however, he's very, and I mean very hit or miss. But man, the monsters? Wow. When I found out that Rob Zombie was making his first family film, I was like, you know what? Okay, go for it. When a filmmaker goes outside of his comfort zone, I tend to give them a lot of the benefit of the doubt. And apparently Rob Zombie is a lifelong Monsters fan, and I will give them the credit he deserves, guys. His love for the Monsters is definitely throughout every single frame. But my god, Rob Zombie's The Monsters more than anything else feels like a cheap parody of what the Monsters is altogether. This doesn't even feel like an actual Monsters movie until literally the final act of this movie. What we have beforehand, guys, is one of the most cringy and one of the most awkward romance films you will ever see. And every time that Jeff Daniel Phillips did this, I was like this. Oh my god, just end? No more, please. No more.
Number 7.
Let's talk about a video game adaptation. And you know where this is going. Uncharted. I can't tell you all how much I love the Uncharted games. Uncharted 2 is in my top 10 games of all time. When I found out that they were making an adaptation of Uncharted, I only thought, why? If you guys have played Uncharted, you will all know that Uncharted is one of the most cinematic video games you'll ever play. I love you, Tom Holland, but you're not Nathan Drake. Marky Mark, you can put on that mustache all you want, but you are not Victor Sullivan. The Uncharted games have great stories, great characters, with thrilling action sequences that leave you breathless, with an amazing musical score. This movie had none of those. Uncharted was generic, and Uncharted is the furthest thing from generic. I've been told by a couple of people to not look at this as a video game adaptation and just an action-adventure film. Well, as an action-adventure movie, it is Indiana Jones light or Indiana Jones generic. It fails on both fronts. Uncharted deserved so much better than this. If you want to watch Uncharted, just watch someone play the games. I'm telling you, it'll be a lot more entertaining than watching this generic ass movie.
Number 6.
We talked about the dumbest movie I saw all year, but now it's time to talk about the most annoying and the most obnoxious film I saw all year, and that goes to Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. As you all know, guys, I am a massive, and I mean massive fan of A24. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is full of some of the most frustrating characters I have seen since Halloween Kills. I cannot tell you all how many times when I was listening to the freaking dialogue in this film that I wanted to say, shut up! The dialogue in this film, the dialogue in this movie is so cringy, it made me just go like, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is marketed as a horror film. It fails. It's marketed as a comedy. It failed. As a whodunit, it fails. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies fails at every single thing that's trying to do. Oh, and don't get me started on that ending and the twists. It is a plot twist that almost had me shouting, are you fucking kidding me? It is that stupid.
Number 5.
Now we're at my top 5 worst films of 2022. You guys know that these were the ones that really did put me in the 7 circles of hell. Coming on to my number 5 pick, we have Halloween Ends. It still blows my mind that this is almost the same creative team that brought us 2018's Halloween. I know that Halloween Ends has some defenders out there, and you know what? To those of you who like this film, I'm glad for you, but really, I have to ask you something, guys. Can you explain to me how in 40 years Michael Myers now feels compassion? Explain to me why Michael Myers would team up with some random kid? Explain to me why Michael Myers would initially die with 2 little slashes when he survived worse than that? If you went into Halloween Ends like me, expecting the big epic showdown between Laurie Strode and The Shape, now, really quick, I wasn't expecting for that to be the entire film, but what we get for the majority of the film is a stupid romance that might as well be something out of Twilight. Oh, and by the way, the epic showdown lasts maybe 5 minutes, and by the end, sure, it's a definitive ending for sure. Michael Myers deserved so much better than this.
Number 4.
Coming on to my number 4 spot, guys, is Pinocchio. The live action remake of Pinocchio had so much potential. I mean, look at the talent not only behind the camera, but in front of camera. The amazing cast is had. I mean, you had Tom Hanks, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Keegan-Michael Key, Luke Evans, and behind the camera you had Robert freaking Zemeckis. And this is the movie that we got? Pinocchio literally had every single tool at its disposal to succeed, and this movie came out to be an artificial, soulless cash grab of one of the greatest animated films of all time. I'm still flabbergasted how bad this movie was. Oh my god, the film's ending. Now, I completely understand, guys. There are certain things that have to change to make things stand out, but out of all the things to change, that was probably the worst thing you could have changed. Either watch the original 1940s animated film or watch Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Such a superior film. Stay away from this cash grab. You want to talk about a bus fire? Let's talk about Firestarter. Oh my god. This movie is a disaster on every single level. Ryan Kara Armstrong is doing the best that you can with the script is given. Zac Efron is a great actor, but seriously, do you buy him as a dad in this film? No, it comes off like an older brother in this film. Firestarter doesn't even know what type of genre of film it wants to be. It tries to be a drama film, it teases it, then it pulls away. It tries to be a horror film, it teases, it pulls away. It tries to be a sci-fi film, it teases, it pulls away. And it even tries to be an action film at one point, and guess what? It teases, and it pulls away from even trying to do any of these certain things at all. I have not seen the original film with Drew Barrymore, and I have been told some okay things about it, but my god, it cannot be worse than this movie.
Number 2.
Coming on to my top 2 worst films of 2022, and I guarantee you guys were wondering when a certain film was going to show up. Well, here it is, guys. Morbius. If you want to talk about an absolute train wreck of a film, oh, Morbius is that and more. I don't know if you guys have seen a certain meme that says, we had low expectations, but holy shit. That is Morbius in a nutshell. Within the first 10 minutes of this movie, actually no, within the first 5 minutes of this movie is an incoherent mess that just keeps getting worse and worse as the film goes along. Not only did this movie bomb once, it bombed twice. Twice! I would have loved to have seen the action in the film if the action wasn't condensed to a bunch of what do you even call the action? It's like liquid inks of things that are just flying around, just going like. Why would the post-credit sequences even end this movie? There are so many words I can use to describe how much of a train wreck this movie is, how much of a bus fire it is, how much of a clusterfuck this movie is. But all I'm gonna say is this, guys. Morbius was a complete disaster, and can we please help with Morbin time? Please?
It's number 1.
It's time to talk about my number 1 worst film of 2022. The film that made me so angry, so livid. The film that I wish I got back approximately about an hour and 20 minutes of my life back. And it was the one film this year that legitimately made me scream at my television screen. Actually, in this case, my boss's television screen. Anyways, you guys get the point. And that film is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I cannot describe to you all how much I hate this movie. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is supposed to be a direct sequel to the original film, which is what Texas Chainsaw 3D was. This is Mulligan Round 2, and my god, as a Round 2 Mulligan, I think it failed even more than that movie. And that's not because you know how much I hated Texas Chainsaw 3D. The fact the film's story is written by Fede Alvarez, the same guy who brought us such amazing horror films like Don't Breathe and the Evil Dead remake. How is this from the same guy? Talking about Leatherface? That was supposed to be Leatherface. That isn't Leatherface. That is some cheap knockoff of Leatherface. Oh, and don't get me started on that scene the best when they were going like, touch us and you're canceled, bro. Since this is a sequel to the original film, they decided to include Sally, who is barely in this movie for less than 10 minutes. But even worse, guys, Leatherface kills Sally. I gotta walk off for a second, guys. Give me a moment. And as if this movie couldn't get worse, it actually has a post-credit scene. I am hoping to God there isn't a sequel, because if the sequel is just as bad as this one, nope. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is about as scary as Dirty Grandpa is funny. Both of them fail, and both of them pissed me off. I hated this movie with every fiber of my being, and the words of my buddy Lucas, Texas Chainsaw Massacre can suck the devil's dick. Oh my god, that felt good. That is gonna wrap it up for my top 10 worst films of 2022. Please comment and let me know below, what are your top 10 worst films of the year, and give me a couple of dishonorable mentions and let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I'm also on Snapchat, so if you guys want to follow me on all those social media platforms, all the links and the usernames are in the description below. I hope you all enjoyed my top 10 worst films of 2022. If so, please hit that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget that notification bell for my latest review goes live. If you guys want to see any of my previous 2 reviews, please click on right there or right there. And of course, until you see my top 10 favorite films of the year, I'll see you guys tomorrow.